come forward, I wanted to tell you a little bit about meeting this man and being so totally impressed with the things that he stands for. First of all, he is, president, founder, what you are, with the Inland Empire Taxpayers Association. He's the founder. He's the founder. How do you like that? But besides that, he's also running for the 47th District Assembly seat in this next year. So I want to give all the time that we can to this man, and we won't ask for questions because of the time, but he has a lot of good information to share with you.
It is really nice to be back here again. It's always good to be among so many fellow Patriots. It was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, that I was here last. And at that time, I was speaking as president of the Inland Empire Taxpayers Association. And we were talking about the upcoming November election and many health propositions that we were facing that had significant implications on us taxpayers here in California. This evening, we know how devastating that election cycle turned out for us. And I'm here for a very different purpose tonight. So before I go into that, just a little bit about my background. My very first political involvement was as a college student at California University. And I volunteered on Tony Strickland's first campaign for state assembly. And then after that, I worked for Tom McClintock when he was in the assembly running for state senator. My political heroes and role models. And since then, I served on a city council, as a mayor, as a water board director, as treasurer of the Riverside County Republican Party, vice president of the Riverside County Republicans, and founded and was president of the Inland Empire Taxpayers Association. But mostly, I'm a small business owner and a proud American who is scared to death that we are losing our country. And nowhere is that more true than right here in California, which is why I'm excited to run for state assembly. And I'm truly humbled and honored to have so much wonderful support. And I've been endorsed by some wonderful people like Assemblyman Mike Morrell, and Congressman Gary Miller, Congressman Nick Calvert, Senator Bill Emerson, 4 out of 5 Riverside County Supervisors, just to name a few. I don't think I can tell anyone here how difficult it is in this state to be a Republican, or anyone for that matter who cares about freedom and the founding principles of our nation. But last year's election cycle was particularly devastating. I remember waking up the morning after the election in a state of complete and utter depression. Not only had the voters of this country returned an administration to the White House that is so clearly leading us down the road to socialism, but here in California, the tax and spend liberals who took away our freedoms at every opportunity have gained a 2/3 supermajority in the legislature. And with the passage of Proposition 30, we officially became the highest tax state in the union. Like so many Californians, I found myself at a crossroads. I was overcome with the feeling that I either had to take my business and move out of state, or I had to stand up and fight for the future of California. I believe that California is worth fighting for, so I chose to stand up and fight. Our families, our friends here are worth fighting for. This is our home, and we need to stand up and fight for it. So why am I running? I am on a mission to restore the Republican Party in this state, and in so doing, to restore freedom and prosperity. To do so by returning to the principles that made California the greatest state in the nation, and the United States the strongest and most prosperous nation in the history of the world. And as depressing as this last election cycle was, I'm here to tell you that tonight we have great reason for optimism. I'm so tired of the hand-wringing and the doomsaying of the usual suspects who say that in order for us to remain relevant as a party in this state, we have to abandon our principles. It's not true. Let me point out 3 very important things that give us hope today. First, the same election returned Barack Obama to the White House. Also returned the second largest House Republican majority since World War II. That's greater than anything Newt Gingrich ever had. Second, according to polling before, during, and after the last election, voters have agree with us fundamentally on the issues of the economy, Obamacare, government spending, bailouts, you name it. Third, over the past few months, the Democrats seem to be crumbling. Mired in one scandal after another. IRS targeting conservative groups, NSA spying, Benghazi, mishandling the situation in Syria, Bob Filner in San Diego. Democratic approval ratings are plummeting. Now, none of this is to say that there aren't many lessons that we have learned from the last election cycle, particularly here in California. But abandoning our principles is not one of them. Let's not forget that just 3 years ago, in 2010, Republicans campaigned on clear principles of individual liberty and limited government. We took strong and united positions to oppose Obamacare, rein in out-of-control spending, roll back regulatory burdens that are crushing our economy, and dare I say it, secure our border. The result was one of the most astounding midterm elections in American history. A net gain of 63 U.S. House seats, 6 U.S. Senate seats, 19 state legislators, 6 governorships, and 700 individual state legislative seats nationwide. Now we're told just one election cycle later that we must abandon our principles. Look, there's no denying the fact that we just lost an election we should have won. And to pretend there's nothing wrong would meet with Einstein's definition of insanity. There's a great deal wrong and a great deal we need to address. But on the issues, the voters are with us. They agree with us that things in this country are seriously on the wrong track. And yet, they voted to continue down that wrong track for another 4 years. Why is that? And why do we keep losing so much ground here in California? I think it's important in politics to understand the difference between addition and subtraction. Addition is what creates majorities, and subtraction is what destroys them. Let me ask you a question. You guys should really get this one. What was the single biggest political movement in 2009 and 2010?
Tea Party.
The Tea Party. The politically incorrect and hated Tea Party, which energized fully 1/3 of the American electorate across party lines. 60% were Republicans, but 20% were independents, and 20% were Democrats. We used to have another name for that type of a coalition. We called it the Reagan Coalition. And yet, last year, many in the Republican Party establishment told the Tea Party to get out, and many did. Let me ask you another question. Who over the past 2 years, which political figure, has brought a tidal wave of young people into the party? Anyone? Ron Paul. Ron Paul, whose simple message of unadulterated freedom resonated deeply on college campuses. 8,000 UC Berkeley students turned out to hear that message. But last cycle, many within our party told Ron Paul and his supporters to get out, and many of them did. Now some are saying the religious right needs to leave the party. We need to get them out. I remind you we did that in 1976, and the result was that the religious right voted for Jimmy Carter. The point I'm making here is that you cannot build a majority by systematically ejecting constituent parts of that coalition. You build a majority by adding to that coalition and by reaching out to new constituencies with your principles. We are winning on issues, and that means over time we'll be winning the votes, but only if we stay true to our principles and true to the millions of Americans who are already with us, and the many more who, although they may not consider themselves Republicans today, believe as we believe. I think that working Americans of every race know instinctively that you cannot borrow and spend your way rich. We need to appeal to them. Immigrants came to this country to escape the central planning and corrupt bureaucracies that ravage their economies. We need to reach out to them. For the first time in our history, young people face a bleaker future than their parents enjoyed. We need to reach out to them. The very groups of voters most damaged by Obama's policies are the people who voted for Obama. We need to reach out to them. Not in the closing days of the campaign, poisoned with partisanship, but starting right now. We need to recognize that a large portion of our population is no longer familiar with the self-evident truths of the American family and has no compass with which to fall back to the prosperity, happiness, and fulfillment that is the hallmark of free societies. We don't need to abandon our principles. We need to return to them. We need to once again be the party of freedom. We need to be the party that rekindles in the hearts and minds of Americans the truth that freedom works. And we need to put it back to work. I think sometimes we don't give the American electorate enough credit. As political strategists and as a party, we stop talking ideologically. Every election cycle, we get wrapped up in the minutiae of each individual race, propping up our candidate, tearing down the opponent. Then we stop talking about the big ideas. The American public is smart enough to know that we're facing serious problems in this country and in this state. And they're tired of the same political games and tricks that have gotten us nowhere. It's why both Republicans and Democrats are losing market share. And the fastest growing party affiliation is no party preference. In California, so many people, and especially business owners, are struggling to stay afloat under the crushing burdens of overregulation and excessive taxation. We're now facing the heaviest tax burden in our history. Government regulation and restrictions have slowly chipped away at our individual freedoms. We're moving from individualism to collectivism, from capitalism to socialism, from the promise of opportunity to the promise of entitlements. And yet, the average voter in this state has no clue that it's the policies of the Democrats which have led us down this path. We haven't done our job. We haven't effectively communicated the truth to the voters. We have to be the party that boldly presents our principles of capitalism, free markets, and individual liberty as the only pathway to restoring lasting prosperity for everyone. We've allowed Democrats to frame us as a party of exclusion, a party of hate, a party only for the rich and for large corporations, a party that doesn't care about the average working American, about 47%, a party that even wages a war on women. It's absurd. Nothing could be farther from the truth, yet we let them get away with it. The Republican Party is the party of the 47%. We're the party of entrepreneurs, the party whose policies support everyone the opportunity to climb that ladder and attain the American dream. We're the party of Abraham Lincoln, of Frederick Douglass, the party that pushed to abolish slavery, that pushed for civil rights, fighting the Democrats every step of the way. Great parties are built upon great principles, and they are judged by the devotion to those principles. Since its inception, the central principle of the Republican Party can be summarized in a word: freedom. We will not win the political battle until we win the battle over principles. We need to begin that campaign today. We can be confident that these principles will resonate, but only when we are true to them with our existing constituencies while reaching out with them to new constituencies. And we do need to reach out to new constituencies. We have a serious image problem in this state, and let's face it, it is no longer socially acceptable to be a Republican in California. We need to embark on a rebranding campaign. We need to take our principles and ideals that really do resonate with the majority of American voters and pair them with popular culture. We have to make it cool to be a Republican. And the Democrats get this. And as we speak, the Obama administration is running ads to promote Obamacare, featuring popular athletes, musicians, actors, and they're spending $8.7 million of our tax dollars to do
The
it.
Republicans won't defund it.
That's right.
So what are you going to do about that?
Right. Well, it's time for us as a party in this state to get smart about what issues should be pushed to the forefront and how we deliver those messages. It's also time to stop pointing fingers, stop dwelling on past failures, stop fighting amongst ourselves, and stop damaging each other in ruling primaries. Let's come together, pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and get back into this fight. Now I'm running in the 42nd State Assembly District. It's one of the few remaining solidly Republican districts in California. And it's going to be a hard-fought battle amongst Republicans for the seat. And I've been asked many times, why should I care? Why should I support one Republican over another? Why waste time and resources in a district which will be represented by a Republican no matter who wins? Well, we've learned the hard way over the past few years that not all Republicans are created equal. I've been fighting this fight far too long to ever consider going back on my principles. We need leaders, for example, who we can count on to hold the line on taxes. Not just because they say they will during a campaign, but because they've already proven themselves time and again. I'm determined to win this election to go up to Sacramento and not just occupy a seat for 12 years, but to use this safe Republican district as a launching pad for a statewide movement to restore our party. I'm running for state assembly to restore the Republican Party in this state to its rightful place as the majority party. It sounds like a lot of people I know, but I'm convinced it can be done. I'm asking for your support. We need a lot of help. We're in the process of launching a very aggressive 9-month ground game. We're going to need people to help out precincts, phone bank, put up signs. We need your help to raise money. If there's anything you can do to help, please come see me afterwards. Or come talk to my campaign manager, Greg Wallace, he's right here. And my deputy campaign manager, Michael Garrison, he's right here. I just want to thank you again. I know it's been a long night, so I'm going to try to keep it brief, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to take it up.
Thank you very much. Interested in finding out more about Chris, and he will also hang out after the meeting, so that you can personally meet and talk with him.
Let me just leave you with one last thought before I go. Now, I'll be happy to take questions. I'll stick around afterwards, but one last thing I'd like to ask. As Republicans in California, I know that it can be very discouraging. I just ask that we not lose hope, that we not get discouraged. We've been traveling through a dark period, and the future can sometimes seem bleak. But never before have we been in a better position now to come back into the state. Never have we been poised so well for victory. The failed leadership of the Democrats has led to an eroding of their popularity. Republican registrations in many key districts has been rising completely on its own, without any organized registration efforts. If historical trends hold, this midterm election cycle should be very good for us. We've been blessed with some great leaders. We couldn't ask for a better chairman at our helm in Jim Wilson. An American public, even here in California, is awakening to the fact that big government cannot and will not ever lead to prosperity. So let's join together and fight hard and smarter than before to save the future of our state and our country.